Are you a current or future physician assistant wanting to learn more about finances? Then join me on this journey to become a PA the FI way. Hi, my name is Kat, and I'm a practicing certified physician assistant who will be your host. It took me 5 years after I started practicing medicine as a PA to thoroughly dive into my personal finances after I discovered the concept of financial independence. I want to use what I have learned to help you avoid some of the financial mistakes that I have made while sharing some of the financial wins that I have had along the way. Join me as we discuss financial strategies to guide you to becoming a physician assistant on the way to financial independence. Welcome back, everyone, to the PA the FI Way podcast. I'm your host, Kat, and thanks for joining me for today's show. When this episode airs on Friday, my sister and I will be on our way to Honduras for a joint medical and dental mission trip that we are going on together. She is a dental assistant, and as you know, I am a PA. So we are looking forward to helping our respective teams on this trip, and we have been talking about doing something like this together for several years. We were supposed to be going to Vietnam in May of 2020, and we all know what happened that year, so our plans have been delayed for a few years. So we are looking forward to finally being able to do this. For today's episode, I wanted to discuss the different types of financial independence retire early, otherwise known as FIRE. Many in the financial independence community know these differences already, but perhaps you are somewhat newer to the community or you have never heard these different types broken down for you. But I want to take the time to review what the different options are to get you to think about what type of FIRE you are actually pursuing and that fits well for you and your life. So way back in the first episode, I talked about what financial independence is. So the first type of financial independence, retire early, is traditional FIRE. And back in that episode, I reviewed a lot of the basics of financial independence. So if you haven't taken a listen to episode 1, go back and do so. But as most of you know, financial independence is the point at which you no longer have to work because work has become optional because you are living off of your investments, passive income, savings, etc. And financial independence is based on the 4% withdrawal rule, meaning that if you withdraw 4% of your overall portfolio that's invested, that should last you for 30 years. And a quick calculation of your financial independence number is what is your annual expenses expected to be in retirement times 25. So for example, if you expect to spend $80,000 annually for your overall expenses in retirement, then your financial independence number would be $2 million. Many of you caught on the fact that the Trinity study, which is the study that supports this information, indicates that that should last you for 30 years. Well, many in the FIRE community want to retire earlier in their 40s, perhaps even their 30s, depending upon how aggressive they are with their savings and investing. Or perhaps even early retirement in their 50s is still considered early retirement. And many of you would expect to live longer than the 30 years from the date that you are hoping to retire. If that's the case, 25 times your annual expenses likely wouldn't be enough. Perhaps you want to aim for between 30 to 33 times your annual expenses to have more of a cushion to last you longer than the 30 years. So again, that's the traditional FIRE option. Next, let's discuss what lean FIRE is for those who feel as though they can live on a pretty lean budget once they have reached financial independence. And generally, that's considered right around $40,000 annually or less. And if that's the case, $1 million would be their financial independence number if they're doing the traditional calculation for financial independence of 25 times their annual expenses. Those who are aiming for lean FIRE recognize that they will have to budget more intently and often embrace a minimalism lifestyle. And those things would be needed to be able to truly retire on such a low annual income from their investments. So who might lean FIRE serve? There may be some of you that already lean towards minimalism anyway, in the sense of you don't feel like you need to spend a lot of money on life's luxuries like travel or a big house or fancy cars or things like that. Or perhaps you are enjoying those life luxuries now. Maybe you have kids in your house now, but maybe you are expecting to downsize and be more minimalistic as you age. So maybe you decide to live in a tiny house or another type of smaller house. Maybe you decide to actually live on the road and RV full time. Those would be the type of people that lean fire would be a good option for. And then the third type of fire is the flip side of that. It's called fat fire. And those who are pursuing fat fire want to have well over the traditional fire amount that they have originally calculated to be able to spend more lavishly on life's luxuries. So people who are pursuing fat fire often want to spend at minimum 6 figures or $100,000 annually in their retirement. And fat fire might be a good option for you to pursue if you expect to actually spend more once you hit retirement age or once you pull the trigger and retire early once you have reached financial independence. So for example, maybe now you spend around $60,000 to $80,000 annually for your household. But again, once your kids grow and leave the house, maybe you decide that you actually want to have both a house in your normal state that you live in, but then also other properties either throughout the country or international properties that you might have a condo in one of the islands in the Caribbean. Or maybe you decide that you want to travel often with no expenses spared to exotic locations and not embrace things like travel hacking to help lower the expense of travel. Or perhaps you can identify that there are expensive hobbies besides traveling that you are wanting to do more of, maybe going on expensive fishing trips or doing helicopter skiing, or even spending your time at things like concerts that have really good seats or professional sporting events that have really good seats that are costly. Or maybe you decide that you want to pursue fat fire because you want that extra safety net in general, because you don't know what life is going to bring you and you don't know how much money you're going to want to spend. So you want to provide an extra cushion for you for your future years. The fourth type of fire is called coast fire. And coast fire is somewhat unique because it's actually the point that you can reach where you no longer actually have to save or invest for your future retirement. So what does that mean? Coast fire is generally hit when people who are a little bit younger find out about financial independence and start saving and investing aggressively at a young age. And then they can reach this point where their current investments would grow enough through the power of compound interest over time to be able to reach their financial independence number at traditional retirement age, right around 65 or so. Now you can reach coast fire in later decades as well. Maybe you reach it early in your 30s or perhaps in your 40s or 50s. And once you reach the point of coast fire, you have a choice. One is you can decide not to save and invest any more of your money, knowing that your investments will continue to compound and grow with time, so that once you decide to retire at traditional retirement age right around 65, then you'll have enough to live off of at that point. Or two, you can decide to continue to save and invest with the goal of having the option to retire early if you don't want to work until traditional retirement age. Perhaps once you reach coast fire, you decide that you want to cut back a bit on your hours or take jobs that you earn less but have more appeal to you because they are less stressful, more flexible, those types of things. Once you reach the point of coast fire, it definitely opens up many more options for you in your life and your work and your career. So it's a very freeing goal to have achieved. And the fifth type of fire that I want to share with you today is called barista fire. And barista fire is also somewhat unique in the sense that you calculate and decide what your fire number is based on what your annual expenses are, either currently or what you want them to be in the future. And then instead of reaching the point of traditional fire where all of your investments can cover those annual expenses, you decide that you want to work part-time to help compensate maybe half of what your annual expenses are or a portion of them. And that could be where you have a less stressful job, such as working as a barista, hence the name of this. but there are many other types of supposedly less stressful jobs than what many of us do in healthcare. And maybe you even have that part-time job to be able to get some of the benefits, such as more affordable healthcare insurance, again, to help with your annual expenses and keep them lower. So to clarify, Barista Fire is often for people who aren't wanting to work a stressful or intense full-time role anymore, and they have saved and invested enough to be able to cut back on their hours and to be able to switch to a more flexible, perhaps a more enjoyable, more fun type of role to be able to cover part of their bills and expenses while still being able to be financially stable with these choices. So I'm very curious to hear what type of fire you are aiming for, or what type of fire you perhaps have already achieved. Let me know either by commenting on the social media post for this episode or by sending me an email to pathefiway@gmail.com if you found this episode helpful and want to share your fire story. Hopefully you can recognize that there's not one particular fire path that everyone needs to follow or that fits best in everyone's life. That's the beauty of pursuing financial independence, is recognizing and understanding that you have a lot of choice in designing what your future life looks like based on what the goals are that you have for your life. And based on that, you can identify which of these fire strategies would work best for you and your spouse if you have a spouse as well. If you found today's episode helpful, go ahead and leave a written review about what you enjoyed about the show, as well as subscribe to the podcast and share the episode with a friend or a coworker or family member that are learning more about financial independence, retire early as an option for them. Thanks for taking a listen, and I'll see you back here soon. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you decide to continue to join me along this journey of becoming a PA the FI way. Please take a moment to press the subscribe button on the platform that you are listening to this on, but more importantly, consider sharing with another current or future PA that could benefit from the information that we reviewed in this episode. Take care and have a great rest of your day. Until next time.